Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US indices for Thursday, September 16 with the Russell here. I've got it that on the bearish side because I'm looking for a top in the S&P around the Equinox, okay, and in stock. So I don't think, look, I could be wrong with that Equinox thing. It's just a target that we're heading to, and we've got some stocks turning over, and it's a possibility, and we're working through it. And we've got to take each stock and each indice sort of on, in their own merit, except that they're in groups. So like the Russell 2000, we could bag up with the SP500 and so on. I just don't know if they've got time to push up that high, They may just push up to here and then move down again at that point. So if that's the case, if the 2-2 here becomes the retested resistance, then we need to be on the short side looking for 5 waves to the downside at that point. Okay, but I don't know yet. But this little rally to the box here is really what we're sort of considering at this stage. This current move down, when I look at Apple, for example, I can count a nice 5 waves down. Here, I could also count 5 waves down. It's a little bit rough and ready in this little area here. Wave 1's cool, 2's cool, 3's cool, 4's good, down to 5 is a little bit rough. So it may not be 5 waves down and then an A and a B and a C back to the 50-60% retracement level, but it would be about the right timing for things if we line it up with the S&P and a few other things and coming down at that point. So we need to keep working on this. We're just going to stay neutral. Once we've got our B wave in here, our A wave can be 3 waves as it is now, or 5 waves. So we'll just see how that plays. If it's a wave 2, it should be 5 waves. It should be a zigzag, a 5-3-5 structure. But it does mean that we can look to short it under the B wave here, and then also look to short it under here. We may also be able to run that through there, but we won't know that just yet. It just depends on how the B wave plays out. So we'll look at all of this to short as it sets up. If the 61.8% becomes the support, well, then we'll look at this as being bullish and we'll move to the upside. So with the NASDAQ, we can look at the NASDAQ and the S&P with tops in them, but there's also a good case which we're pulling these back here as corrective wave 4s, and we're looking for one more high here. The same thing applies as well. We've been tracking this down through here. If you have a look at the US stocks, you can see that the Apple's got a nice 5 wave move down. In a bit of a nutshell, because we've got this move down here now that we've been working this week, and we've been looking for the rally, we're getting the rally now, it does mean that we can short it under here. Now that's a little bit loose and we'll be able to improve on that. But because we're working with the top of the markets, we really need to be sure that we've got things right before we're going to trade against the main trend. It's a little bit dangerous and it needs extra care and work. It's just not like a sort of a pullback. So it is possible for tops to be in place, and I'm aware of that. There's also possible that, I've got this as wave 3 here with an A and a B and a C for wave 4 here. And then going up to wave 5, which I'm looking for one more little high here. But besides that, we could look at all of this as 1 and 2 here, and all of this is just the 3rd wave and a 4th wave back, and then a 5th wave back up. So there's a lot at stake here with all of this. So we're just gathering information in real time and putting it together as best I can. So, and that way we're not going to be we're not going to be far wrong in what we're doing. So what we've had a few counts up here from wave 4 going up to wave 5. It's possible to count this as wave 5 here to be finished, but it's also possible to count this as 1 and 2 here, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here for the 3rd wave, and looking for the 4th wave to pull back. Now the 4th wave pulling back, that's the 38.2%, so we're close, and then we also need to take into group 1 here, and we get the bounce off group 1, and looking for a little move to the upside. So this would be pretty much in line with Alphabet and Google, Google Alphabet. And Tesla and a few others. So we've got a mixed bag of stocks, so that's why we need to take them all individually. So in this instance, we would just be looking for 5 waves to the upside, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And as I mentioned, we're looking for the Equinox. There's a few other things happening around that date as well. I mean, I don't want to be too moony about the whole thing, but back in the old days, or even in the futures markets, which still operate today, they operate around the seasons with the crops. So then the accounting all operates around those types of dates as well. So big decisions are made around those dates. So that's kind of how, it's probably more of a bit of a practical reason. Well, I mean, I like a bit of spookiness and esotericness and so on and so on. A bit of mystery. Anyway, blah blah blah. So look, with this here, what we need to be careful about is that I've counted this down as an A and a B and a C wave down here. Like I mentioned with Apple, it's okay to count this 5 waves down. And you could probably count this as 5 waves down, but it means that I've looked on the cash market. It's a bit difficult to consider all of this wave 1 here because of its pattern. The rest of it you could put out as, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. We can take a closer look at that. But while we're here in the bigger picture, we just need to be, obviously we're going to have problems at the 50-60% mark here, but I'm thinking that would be the top of wave 1 at that point, and then that will push it back to wave 2 at that point. So if we take that here and put this here and pop that up there, just to give us a kind of swimming between the flags kind of thing, keeping there. So that's kind of roughly what we could expect at this point. So up into the 500 and stall there and even have a little correction, may not pull all the way back, but it's just a starting point, and then push up from there. Now the thing is that if this low is taken out, then obviously we're on our way to the downside. So tomorrow we'll have more information about this. We'll be able to see if it's corrective or it's impulsive. Normally if we get when we draw up the 61.8% or the 50-60% box here, then if we get 3 waves to that, then we know that it's corrective. If we get 5 waves to that, well, then we know we're going to be going higher up, and it does look kind of like that. Let me think here for a moment. I'll just go straight to the tick, I think. Well, that was a journey. So that's the top there. It was always difficult to count this down as 5 waves here, just couldn't kind of fit it in very well. So it always sort of, I could see 5 waves here for the A wave, the B wave to that point. So we could have the A wave to here, then an A and a B and a C here, and then 5 waves down here. I know you can count it W, X, Y and all that, but it's tricky enough as it is, so I just kind of want to keep it all at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then ABCs as much as possible. So yeah, I'm more of an original Elliott person, because along the way people have changed the Elliott, not changed it, added to it to make it, improve it. Like the X wave, for example, was added by Proctor, I think, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just makes counting a little bit easier. But I'm a bit more hardcore, I think. Then people like Glenn Neely have created their own sort of waves and so on and so on. But I kind of I respect all of that, but people being creative and adding to it. But for some reason, I've just been a bit stoic and stayed with the original sort of ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of thing. Be that right or wrong, it's not really a matter about any of that. It's just a matter of enjoying yourself and trying to make a buck along the way. So anyway, here I've been counting this down all week, as you know, and we always get a bounce off the 3, so we've got a nice bounce off the 3 here, and we could look at this as impulsive. So far up here we could look at this as an A wave, a B wave and a C wave up here, and that's the end of it. So we don't have 5 waves here yet, so we need a little dance here and another little 5th wave, and then we'll have that ABC that I was talking about, and then we could move up from that point. But we could just as easily move down from this point at this stage by the looks of it. So yeah, technically, what the worst case scenario, we can short it below there. Okay, that's what we can do at this point. That would be That would be the safe bet. And if you can see a classic trading levels pattern setting up there, you know what that looks like. So it will be like this. So we'd need to see the arrival, which we've got now, the reaction, the first high above the level. So we need to see, you know, this whole thing play out here for that. So that's what we can look for there, but we're not there just yet. And if we're going to move up, then yeah, we need to look at this as we can start this process as wave 1 and 2, and I'll just put 3 normally comes in around the tops, you know, so I'll just put this out the way of 4 here, and then wave 5 up there. So that's the top that we're looking for. And yeah, this would be the same as Alphabet, as I mentioned before, Google. So yeah, will that take us till next week? Will it be earlier? Will it be the 21st? You know, all these sorts of things. Don't know. Monday's always a good day for markets falling out of bed, especially if the Friday before that is weak. You know, that's what we've got to watch. Yeah, reminded me of, I was just thinking of 1987. We were shorted that. Anyway, it's a long way away. So there we go. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the top of wave 3 either, but when we get the 5 waves here, then we'll check and we'll look to go short and things, but we'd still want to see the first 5 waves down, you know what I mean? And then we can start looking at the rally, and then we can look at the other side. It's a bit tricky because if you got to short it up in the first 5 waves, because if the 3rd wave comes down, you can't short it down here because you're going to get stuck with the 4th and the 5th, and then you're going to be getting the next retest over here of 61.8% before you go down again. So yeah, we need to get it sort of here. And it may not play out with 5 waves here, as I've mentioned before. I would need to talk about this more. You get wave 1 and 2 here, and then wave 1 and 2 here, and then wave 1 and 2 here, and it starts to look corrective, and then the Monday could be like that or something, you know. So it can be a little bit sort of tricky. The idea is to chill out, think about it. Like if you normally put in 10 contracts here, well then just put in 2 or 3, do you know what I mean? And then we'll look to get it over this side as well. So being, you know, thoughtful and, you know, chilled about it, you can get through, and less is more, so to speak. But we'll talk about that more, and we'll play that out in real time as it plays out, the best as I can, close as I can get it anyway, with the videos and things. But might do another video at that point or something, just a little update or something. Anyway, that's where we are with the NASI. Let's see. So just to recap, I'm thinking that there's wave 4 here and we're going up for wave 5. Now, I could be totally wrong, and if I am wrong, then we need to be looking to short it at this point here. Okay, and just build in a few short positions on this side. So that's that. Now the S&P is the same sort of story. So we can fit 5 waves into all of this, and it looks okay like that. But I think there's another one to go here before we go at that point. So I'm thinking, that's what I'm thinking. But at the same time, if this low is breached, then we need to be on the short side at that point. It's kind of that simple. Now there is a case for even further upside, but once this little 5 waves comes into play here, then just copy that, put that there. So once this one is done here, once that's finished, it still may not be the top, because if I go to my other chart here, just to have a quick look, this is the other trend that I'm working, which has still got further to go up. You know, I won't go into a lot of detail, but it's got further to go up, and yeah, so actually that little, having one more push up here like we're just discussing, just even to that point, will make this here, this wave 3, like this wave 3 here, just a tad longer than wave 1. So that will be interesting. But normally it's much longer than wave 1. So, I mean, normally I'd expect, normally, you know, when I'm looking at the markets and the market comes up to a major level, I always look at that as wave 3, in whichever case, and then wave 4, and then wave 5, and then the ABC as the classic trading levels pattern, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if it keeps climbing, but we have to gather the evidence, and all I'm really doing is just being very cautious coming into play with all of this. So on the 4-hour chart, like we did with the NASDAQ, in a bit of a nutshell, because I've got different counts going on, I've got it counted in different ways. I've got this as a 2 and a 4 here, but it's, if we're lining it up with the NASDAQ for this point of exercise, we're looking at it as wave 4, and sure, I know that it overlaps wave 1, but when you get to the top of the markets, these are the sorts of things that can happen. So we've been tracking all this down. We can look at that in the tick chart. In a nutshell, if this low is breached, then we need to be looking on the short side. So it's kind of that simple at this stage. And from the top to the bottom here at the 4,500, that's going to be the resistance there. Doesn't, you know, you need to be a little bit patient. So based on what we just saw with the NASDAQ, we could look at that as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 going up here. This may not be the case, but this is what you'd be looking for on the long side if you wanted to build into this. So you could go long at that point. And we can just call that, well, how are we going to do this? So I'll just use this wave 1 here, it doesn't really matter. And wave 2 at that point, doesn't matter, it's not the right count, but I'm just saying if we get 5 waves in this first one here, then that will take us to wave 3 being up here somewhere, probably push through that, 4 and 5. So the 4,600 to the 4,650, something in that space. But our job from here on in, if we do get an impulse wave here, then our job all this week is to get these 5 waves right. That's everything. I mean, when these 5 waves finishes, wherever they finish, we'll look for the first 5 waves down. And if we get those 5 waves down, that means that we get 5 waves in the opposite direction of the trend. We'll get 3 waves, and then we can look to short. Let me just move these out of the way. We will be going over this again and again and again. I mean, it's boring as batshit, but it's so we'll short it under there, right? Because that will be the B wave in that case. Because we've got 5 there, that means that an ABC back there. We could short it higher as well. You could do all those sorts of things. But coming through there would confirm it, and because we've got 5 here, it means we'll get 5 over here. It may only mean we get 3 waves down and we go up again over here. So the trick is not to overtrade at this point, because this one will either be a very small profit, break even, or a small loss. So that's the risk of that there. And then wherever we're trading with the levels, we can look to build on it. But that's kind of the first thing. We may get lucky and we may be able to draw a line through here. If it pulls back into the box, you may be able to get a very, very small position in the box. If we got a clear 5 waves there, that will give us more confidence to short the 61.8% and build in a couple of positions here, and then, you know, we'll keep building in down through here. It's never easy at the beginning of a trend to build positions, because everything retraces, you know, 60% or 80% and all this sort of stuff. So it's a lot to take on, you know. It's very tricky, so you got to use small amounts. Anyway, enough waffling. Let's just cruise straight to the tick chart and just see what we've got. We have to go in here a bit further. So this will be a little bit confusing here because it's just really a work in progress, but as we were talking about yesterday, we were looking for that low to come in down here in the box, and yeah, let's see what we've got coming back up. I mean, today we don't have 5 waves here, but I have to say it's got quite nice form here. We can look at this. I'll put this over here so you can do some counting as well with this. So we can look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for 1, and back for 2 here. But there could also be the A wave and the B wave here. So we won't know yet. This here is wave 1 and 2 here. This is probably 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. So that's all of the, from here to, I need to check that a bit further. And it's 1, 2, 3 to there. That's to there. That may even be to there. That may be, it looks a bit three wave-ish there. That looks like 5 waves. Got to check. Yeah, sorry, I'll have to check in these. I'll have to pull them apart on the 10-tick chart, have a look. Anyway, that's a job for you. But what we can do at this stage is we can look at this being wave 1 here and wave 2 there. So there's a start anyway. And then this here will be wave 1, and that's a rather large one, so we don't need that. We need this other one. So 1 there and 2 there, and somebody's got to figure out all of that, otherwise I'll do that tomorrow. But then we're looking for 3, 4 and 5 there for wave, where are we on here? We want to kind of get that up a little bit higher. We want that wave 3 to be up there, so we want wave 3 to be here somewhere, and then wave 4, and then wave 5 will be somewhere up here, and that will be wave 5, and that will be wave 5 of 5 of 5, blah blah blah, and that will be the top. So that's what we're looking for. Let's just tidy this up a little bit. We'll just bring these across. So, not sure if that's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 in there. So that could also just be to there, although that's 1 and 2, that's 3, 4, 5, so that's all of that, that's unfinished, so that needs to go up there. That will all be part of that structure. So I don't know, I probably have to go to there, and then 4, and then 5. That's going to leave us a little bit short, isn't it? Well, that's where the wave C could be, you know. If this was going to be an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave, that's where that's going to finish. So this is what we got. This is all the stuff we need to be mindful of, you know. So it can fail there, put it that way. So what you'd want to see at this level is a classic trading levels pattern, the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, the ABC pattern here. And then once that's triggered, or if it's triggered, then we know that we're on the right track, because this is where it can fail and move down from this point. And that's where you need to start counting the 5 waves, which is really going to be sort of in the big time we go into the futures market in the off session. This is obviously going to push Asia up, so Asia is going to be positive, so they'll go through Hong Kong and India and all the rest of it today, so that will end up in Europe, and that will end up being positive, so that will, in the off futures hours, that will take that up to that point. So that means that you'll just have to be really mindful of 5 waves coming down here as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 if you can. You know, try to sort of focus on that. I guess what we could also say too is that, you know, this 4,500 here is the main game in town, the main number, and then we've got group 1 above and group 2 below. So now that it's finding support here, that means that we can look to short below group 2. So if group 2 here, the 65, becomes the retested resistance, then you know that we're on our way down at that point. So we can get it here and then get it under the 450 as well, here, under this 450 here, building in positions there, but make them small, and you've got to realize where you are within the internal structure of things. If you're at the beginning, the middle, or the end of whatever trend that you're in. But anyway, let's just see what we've got there. I'm reasonably confident that we're going to be pushing higher. The only bearish scenario that I've got here really of any weight is Apple. So we could just have a quick look at Apple while we're here, because indice traders probably don't look at stocks that much. So in this case, this is what we've got with Apple here. So you could probably help track this a little bit. So from the top here, we've got 1 and 2 and 3, ABC for 4 and down for 5. So to me, this is very clear here, right? So we've got that in place. And this is what the NASDAQ and the S&P could be doing as well. We don't know yet, you know, we just don't know. But an A wave, a B wave and a C wave here for Apple, and then down again at that point. So we've got that sort of happening, right? That's the bearish side of things. So the bullish side of things, just as an example, can be Alphabet. So with Alphabet, this is what I think that we're going through. So we've got different stocks doing different things in a way. And this is clear that we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because this is very clear that it's in 3 waves here. So we should be taking out the top. So this will just continue to move up here. So this is sort of part of my timing for the bull market. So they're the 2 scenarios we got. Which is right and what's the indices going to do and all the rest of it, I'm not too sure. I mean, Apple's, you know, definitely in the top sort of, in the top tier. Google's not far behind it either. I don't know if Apple's got more than Google or vice versa and stuff, but they'd both be in the top 5, wouldn't they? I mean, I'm not that sure. I'm not a US person, so I don't, you know, I didn't grow up with this stuff that much. But yeah, there we go. Anyway, that's the problem. I'll sign out. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Cheers.